Hi, my name is Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss some of the more important features of note concerning Boris Johnson's all-change cabinet and our new government. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So, where to begin with this rogues gallery of some of the most wicked and dumbest Tory MPs on offer? And I should probably begin by pointing out that Boris Johnson didn't necessarily have a lot of choice. Not only do you have reduced choice anyway in a minority government, and he wasn't going to give senior cabinet positions, or indeed any cabinet positions, to his political enemies, of which there are a fair few, but quite a few senior MPs have refused to serve in his cabinet. Some of them because they simply refused to accept the clown prince of evil as Prime Minister, but others because he offered them a more junior role than they had under May, and they basically told him to stuff it. This included his main leadership rival, Jeremy Hunt, who said he would have been fine staying on as Foreign Secretary, but wasn't prepared to do the crap job that Johnson offered him. I don't actually know what that position was, but it was clearly a demotion. So the three main jobs under the Prime Minister are always Chancellor, Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary. Now the role of Chancellor has gone to Sajid Javid. He was very careful not to attack Boris Johnson too strongly during his badly constructed leadership challenge, and even sold his soul earlier this week by speaking out against racist populism in the US, but by commending Nigel Farage. As Chancellor, he is an extremely senior member of the Cabinet, but unlikely to come into direct contact with anything that would require him to call out Boris Johnson's new boss, Donald Trump, and possibly that's one of the reasons for giving him the post. However, this will be no walk in the park for Javid. Boris Johnson has promised much and none of it has been costed. Sajid Javid as Chancellor is going to have to be the one that tells Johnson that the numbers don't add up to his plans without quite insane level of borrowing. And that's a concern for me. Johnson may remortgage the country for short-term economic buoyancy that lands us with long-term harm, as happened with Cameron, only this time, of course, it will be much worse. As for Javid's old job, Home Secretary, that has gone to Priti Patel. Now, I can barely begin to describe just how unsuitable this creature is for high office. She was forced to resign as a more junior cabinet minister a couple of years ago when she breached the ministerial code quite badly. She also holds some of the worst views. Even other Tories consider her an extremist. Her voting record shows the typical footprint of her sort, voting against gay rights, equality laws, welfare spending, helping the youth into employment, EU integration, of course. But, you know, she's in that hardcore who don't want EU nationals already resident in the UK to have the right to remain. Now, that's something that even Johnson has committed to. Even old Boris isn't that bad. But she is a die-hard Brexiteer, and Johnson has created a cabinet with MPs who are willing to commit to leaving the EU this October. With the likes of Patel, it was not a bind to do so. She's looking forward to the chaos. We can also look forward to her further hamstringing the police investigations into the Leave campaign corruption. But with Boris Johnson now Prime Minister, well, that was always going to happen anyway. And then the third of the triad of major cabinet positions, Foreign Secretary, goes to Dominic Raab. Frankly, this is the most terrifying appointment. Part of me was looking at the cabinet and thinking, well, at least they'll all be in it together when it goes tits up. It's only a shame David Davis somehow isn't in there. But we have a serious situation with failed Middle East diplomacy in the form of a worsening situation with Iran. We need a serious Foreign Secretary. I mean, Dominic Raab only recently learned of the significance of Dover, our most important port. Does anyone seriously believe he knows the first thing about the Middle East? It genuinely terrifies me to think of what is going to happen with Johnson as Prime Minister and Raab as Foreign Secretary. The rest of the cabinet are not quite such a heinous mix. Yes, it includes the like of Michael Gove, who has been given a non-job in the form of Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, just to keep him from being a pain in the arse on the backbenchers, I think. Stephen Barclay remains Brexit Secretary. I mean, at the moment, another non-job, as odd as that may seem, so it makes no difference who got that. And I say it's a non-job because Boris Johnson has taken personal responsibility for Brexit now. Not just implied, but he made it explicitly clear in his Downing Street speech. So it will be the Prime Minister doing the legwork on Brexit now, not the Brexit Secretary. I really don't know what he's going to be doing. I suppose of professional interest to me should be the new Education Secretary. This role has been given to Gavin Williamson. Now, if that name sounds a little familiar, it's because he was the former Defence Secretary who was recently sacked for leaking the Huawei information. Not that I believe he was guilty, but it is another example of a strange appointment. The official line is that Williamson breached the Holy of Holies in leaking information from a national security meeting. So he's basically been invited into cabinet a few weeks after being sacked for passing on state secrets. Now, as I say, I'm not convinced that he actually did, but, you know, to invite him into cabinet a few weeks later just makes it look like Johnson doesn't care about the security of the state, doesn't mind ministers ignoring the rules. I mean, I suppose we got that impression from his appointment of Patel, really. But the most eye-opening appointment is not actually for a cabinet position. It's not for an MP. Dominic Cummings has been appointed to be one of Johnson's key advisors. Now, Cummings headed up the Leave campaign for the Brexit referendum and so worked very closely with both Johnson and Gove in the past. Now, that, of course, doesn't make the appointment odd, but Cummings is known to be very hostile towards the civil service. So imagine the situation where we have someone who is opposed to the way the civil service does things, advising the Prime Minister who doesn't listen to the reality of any of his policies, and you can see what's going to happen. Johnson will want to do a thing. The civil service will tell him it's not realistic. Cummings will tell Johnson that they're just being obstinate, and you end up with a right old mess. The Prime Minister will order the civil service to do his impossible task. Go and milk my unicorn and spare me your excuses. But it will be impossible, of course, so it won't get done. Cummings will also... This is a man who has not only headed up the illegal Leave campaign, but he's also been found in contempt of Parliament. He refused to attend a select committee hearing when required. So he doesn't just hate the civil service, he hates Parliament as well, it seems. And of the key appointments, you've got Johnson, obviously Prime Minister now. Then you've got Gove, Raab, Patel and Cummings. They were the ones running that illegal Leave campaign. So we also now have people who ran a group that has been convicted of criminal behaviour in a British court, isn't just me saying it, in positions of power over the very organisations who are still investigating further criminal acts. So fun times ahead, at least if you're on the outside looking in. When you're locked in with these lunatics, it's actually quite terrifying. Let's hope Parliament gets its act together in September, as it doesn't seem like they're doing much at the moment. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.